following podcast contains mature content. The views and opinions expressed by the host are not necessarily those of the host. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the number one horror podcast on Pornhub, Getting Offed, where you can rack up body counts through gangbangs or slasher films. I am your host, the patron saint of podcasting, the warden Matt Ritter, and I am here with my co-hosts this evening. She is the shaman of She Lead, host of the She Lead Showcase, Inside the Mind of In the Crowd, newest show story time with the one and only Miss Katie Kinsey, Baby.
The official co-host for Getting Offed.
The official co-host for Getting Off. And from the Get Show podcast, who is also kind of an official co-host, because I feel like he's been here for every episode as well.
Huh?
My favorite filthy Filipino. What's going on, Jess?
Yo, how we doing? Let's cut some people's asses.
There's so Allison Love Carrie 2. Then there's talk of pineapple pizza, which I'm not going to entertain going on in the chat because pineapple pizza is disgusting.
Wow.
But what we are here to talk about tonight, essentially, so basically, if you guys haven't heard, Peacock has ordered a series that is going to be a prequel to the original Friday the 13th. And all of the information that has come out has told us that both Horror Inc., which is run by Sean Cunningham, who owns everything rights-wise for adult Jason from basically Friday the 13th Part 2 and on, as well as Victor Miller, who just recently won a battle to get the rights to the original Friday the 13th that he wrote the screenplay for, and owns all of the rights to everything in the first movie, including Camp Crystal Lake, Young Jason, Pamela Voorhees, blah, 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 are actually both involved in this project, which means Peacock's series is going to have full access to the expanded Jason universe. And I have an idea for a slasher universe, or a couple ideas actually for a slasher universe that I have. Well, I'll get into more of it because I'm going to allow Katie and Justin to ask me questions. I feel that is the best way to get full participation. And if you guys are in the chat, please feel free to ask questions if you have any as well. But yeah, that is what we're going to talk about, are essentially my ideas and, thoughts back and forth between us on a cohesive slasher universe and how to get the majority of your favorite slashers together under one umbrella. So, Katie.
Matt.
Go ahead and ask me questions.
So I don't remember how long ago you brought this. Had to have been when we were doing something on the Havoc Hour. I think it was when we were doing the Friday the 13th series. You briefly mentioned that you were writing something about a Slasherverse. Now, how did that, obviously you love horror movies. Clearly, look at your background. You have a horror movie podcast. So, how did you come up with this original, idea in your mind of, oh, well, what if there is a Slasherverse?
So, I mean, you have the MCU, you have the, in my personal opinion, lesser version of the DCEU. They had the monster universe, the Universal Monster Universe they were trying to put together with stuff like I, Frankenstein, Dracula Untold, all of those things. And, one of the biggest talks, who would win in a fight? Michael versus Jason, Freddy versus Jason. Freddy versus Jason was the first film that kind of really successfully brought that idea together because they were both owned by, I believe, New Line Cinema at that point. So that's kind of where it started. The origins of my concept. So there are two concepts. The first origins came from Jason Goes to Hell, which we will get into a little more. The second one was I essentially just wanted to tie up a bunch of loose ends that were in the Halloween franchise and then expanded that to an entire universe where there are characters in both Halloween 6 and Halloween H2O that never died and never returned, that I want to know what the fuck happened to them. And I was a big fan of Supernatural, and I was like, let's make Supernatural and pair up two cousins instead of brothers and have them ride around in a muscle car and go hunt slasher monsters, because that was the original, one of the original concepts. So it would be John Tate from H2O and Michael Myers incest baby from the end of Halloween 6. You make that face every time I say it, like you don't know it's a thing.
I know it's a thing. It doesn't mean I have to like it.
But it would be, him finding out he is Michael Myers' child, and them essentially traveling around America, going to all of the famous haunts like Springwood and Camp Crystal Lake or Newt, Texas, because they hear of things that sound like it could be Michael. And then when they get there, they run into Freddy, they run into Jason, they run into Leatherface, so on and so forth, because every major slasher franchise has kind of its own unique area where things take place in, and that could even extend beyond just slashers. Like you could go to Amityville, you could go, all of these different places and find out kind of like what's going on and have them hunt things outside of the realm of just slashers. But that's not the full on how to bring everyone together. That's a lot more complicated.
I still love that idea. Dad's on a hunting trip. He has been back in a few days. It makes sense too. Like the fact that they go to these places and be like, oh well, like it's very possible could be Michael, and nope, it's a murdered man who haunts you in your dreams, like with a creepy glove. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a okay. So then the incest Mike is like a good guy.
Well, so
like you said, like he's kind of like figuring out things. So he's like, okay, I want to go find my dad. Right?
I honestly hadn't. Yes and no. So I honestly hadn't figured out the entirety of that story, but the premise is that Michael Myers in Halloween 6, per the producer's cut, had a baby, whether it was through relations or through, as we've coined on this episode, the milking of Michael Myers and the use of a turkey baster, an incest child with his niece. That child was then raised by Tommy Doyle and Kara Strode at some point. And as I got into it, it was like, he finds out who he is. He finds out that, Tommy and Kara have been lying to him. Maybe Tommy and Kara, they don't get together. He's just living with Tommy. He finds out that he has a half brother, goes to visit him. His half brother, who is from H2O, which technically those are two separate universes, but this is again trying to bring everything together and fill in the gaps, is kind of an alcoholic like his mom after the encounter with H2O and all of that. So it's them kind of working together. Him trying to figure out what the hell's going on, because he just found out, oh shit, Michael Myers is my dad, killed my mom, who was his niece. Like he's got a whole bunch of fucked up past trauma to deal with. And may have some of that evil that Michael has inside him, which is something we'd come to find out through the travels and interactions and things like that. And John coping with his addiction and mommy issues and the fact that Michael killed his mom and basically everyone he cares about. So
now, do you have more like laid out, like concrete stuff for that, or for the other?
So it's hard to say. So I wrote everything down, right? Because I had these ideas, but I realized very quick I am not a writer. Like I'm not someone who's gonna sit down and like I can write down thoughts and ideas and general concepts of how something would work. But as far as like dialogue between characters and setting a scene, I'm not one. I can't like. It was a brisk winter morning in northern Nebraska, and the wind was like I can't do that.
That's good. That's good.
Well, the thing is, like my wife could as well, but so one of the things I think me and my wife realized is my brain doesn't work that way, and she reads a lot of books, and then she does a lot of writing. I am not much of a reader, and I feel like that kind of hinders me in my writing. Whereas I am much more of a movie person. So when I picture things in my head, it's in movie scenes, but not played out fully as a full movie. I can picture certain aspects of what I see and what I want at times, and I can put them there, but putting the pieces together, writing is not my forte, which is why I want to do this podcast, because now I can do what I do best and talk and get all of that information out in the best cohesive way I can. I've done a little bit of it on TikTok. Some of it's over there. If you go follow my TikTok at Smacking a Raw, very early episodes. The Rack does some stuff on Friday 13th. He does. You didn't see that?
Mm-hmm.
I did. I just
Yeah.
make the face as the rack.
There's some stuff about the Slasherverse. Will and Vince are flirting in our comments right now. That's
Of course
cute.
there.
But yeah, no, that's that. I would say I don't have an end game really for either. Like
Okay.
I have I'd say I have more of a more general outline of how everything would go in the cousin brother half brother comedy or
The supernatural.
whatever. Yeah, the supernatural.
Yeah, supernatural.
ripoff
Yeah.
of where things would go, because obviously it's going to be them traveling to all of these different locations, ending with them finally finding Michael Myers, facing him down, and then doing what they didn't do and didn't have the balls to do, which was actually an idea I had before Halloween Ends actually comes out, and having them kill Michael and then having incest child be the new Michael Myers and kill John and become like he has now defeated all of the slashers, and he has now killed Michael, who in my opinion is the final boss, the ultimate slasher,
Yes.
and now he is the end all be all new incarnation of the slasher, would be the end game in that situation. As far as an end game for what we're going to talk about here, I have much more detail in how everything would work for this, but where it would all go once everyone got into it, I don't have an end game for.
Okay.
Now, I do have to say something. So, like, I think what you're talking about, like, because like you, I'm not good at writing either. But what you're describing is that you would be good in storyboard. So, somebody draws frame by frame what would happen. You could definitely describe like what's going on, right?
Oh yeah, if I had a ghostwriter, I could sit down and I could feed them all of the thoughts,
right,
background information, all of the things that are just going on in my head, and then they could set a scene and create dialogue, and it would become something. But I would need a ghostwriter.
Yeah, she's right here. Katie would be our ghostwriter. I could just be a side producer.
Justin's just a ghost.
Yeah,
he's the ghost. I'm the writer, ghost writer.
There you, you're so smart.
Oh,
okay, and then I want to also pitch an idea I just came up with. I don't know. You could shit on it if you want. You know what I'm saying? But just to kind of like, kind of get like a different spectrum of like what your universe is in a different format. All right. So this is what I'm thinking. Right now, at the end, you could definitely shit on this. So let's say Incest Mike has no idea that he's Incest Mike. Never grew up knowing he's Incest Mike. Okay. In this universe, ever so often there's a strange apocalyptic occurrence going on, right? With monsters and zombies and all this kinds of shit, right? So when something like this is going on in this universe, there needs to be a guy that can handle that type of stuff, right? So you have
we can call him Steven. We can call him Steven because his name is Steven. He's not
Steven.
He's Michael's incest baby, but he's not incest Mike. Like he's not Michael Myers from incest. He's
okay.
Michael's incest baby with his knees, but his name is Steven, so we can call him Steven.
Okay. I was gonna just call him I'm, just short for I and Mike, incest Mike. But okay.
Continue.
Okay, so when this type of shit happens in this universe, you need somebody to help, like, take care of all this. So like Ash from Evil Dead, right? Because he survived a whole bunch of shit, right? He is taking on a new student to carry on somebody to help the world save all this. That would be Steve.
Okay.
Right? In doing this, like a whole new realm happens where all these different slashers are coming from different universes, right? In order to bring them back into their universe, they need to kill them, right? So that's what Ash and Steve are doing, right? And it finds out that who's sending all these people is like the cult, right? Who is like, it could be like Darth Vader, right? Where the cult is the stormtroopers, Darth Vader is Michael Myers, right? Defeats them, then obviously Steve has to defeat, Michael Myers. And while defeating, they have a Darth Vader type moment. Like, I'm your father. He's like, no, and then we can lead into a sequel.
Well, I will say, since you
Was that
brought
good? I'm
up,
sorry, was it?
I mean, I thought it was funny. It'd be
Yeah.
interesting to see. You brought up Ash and Evil Dead, and I know Matt's one of the main focuses of your Slasherverse is the book. I don't know how to pronounce it.
The Necronomicon Ex Mortis.
There you go.
Yes.
God damn.
So I mean, again, I like I told you before, man. I don't like. I've seen the remake of Evil Dead, and I think I might have seen like the original one, but I don't know much about Ash and the Evil Dead universe and everything like that. So I don't understand this book.
All right. So the idea for what we're really here to talk about is from a very small scene in Jason Goes to Hell. When they're going through the Voorhees Manor, you see the Necronomicon in the Voorhees Manor in Jason Goes to Hell. Similarly to something that you see in Evil Dead, there is a dagger in Jason Goes to Hell that can only be used to kill Jason, and it is alluded to the idea that Jason is sort of this demon that can move from body to body, but only manifests in its ultimate form inside the body of a Voorhees, living or dead, which is what happens when it crawls inside his mother and he is reborn backwards. That's essentially the basis for this, because the Necronomicon, now if you watch Ash versus Evil Dead, the 3 seasons and everything, they really get into what the Necronomicon is. And the Necronomicon is essentially it's a book with spells that allow you to summon and create portals for demons. Now the ones that you see through the majority of Evil Dead is the Kandarian demon, which is the main demon that is at the very end and kind of what plagues everything. But also Deadites, and Deadites are more like leeches or kind of scavenger demons that possess people to attack Ash. But there are spells in that book for other demons, and that's where this whole thing comes together, because if Michael, if Jason, if Freddy somehow was possessed by a demon from the Necronomicon, let's start with Jason, right? So Jason drowns as a little child. His mother goes crazy, mourning her lost son. We don't really know what happens. Like they tell us kind of, they kept trying to reopen the camp and she kept doing things to shut it down. Then they finally reopen the camp. She murders a bunch of camp counselors. And then all of a sudden Jason comes out of the lake, grabs this girl. And then in the next movie, he's a grown ass man. Like, right. All right.
Yeah.
So my thought was either Pamela, in her distraught madness of losing her son, finds this Necronomicon, reads from it, and then decides that she has to commit a certain number of sacrifices to bring her son back.
Okay.
The last one's supposed to be Alice, which is why she allows the camp to be reopened and starts killing these counselors, but in essence ends up being herself, because Alice kills her. This would then allow that demon to possess Jason, which is why Jason comes out of the water as a child the way he is, but through the power of this demonic essence also grows so rapidly to the full hulking form that he is, and becoming the Jason Voorhees that we all know and love. The other thought is that her Elias has the hand in it as opposed to Pamela, because he is the Voorhees. It is found in the Voorhees Manor, which I believe is supposed to be his father's house, that Pamela was not there. Dad left, started a new family, all this stuff, all this shit's there. So maybe, there are rumors, stuff in comic books, all the stuff that like he was kind of slowly out watching Jason and seeing Jason and knowing Jason was back and alive, and So either one, I kind of like the idea of Pamela,
Mhm.
being the one. But let's say Pamela doesn't know how to read from this book because it's Latin
Yeah,
and
it's
all
Latin.
fucked up. So he does, and he casts the spell, and he puts Pamela on this path, and she ends up being the final sacrifice, which he knows she needs to be, and blah blah blah. And that would be how Jason is brought into this universe, or
Mhm.
created in this universe. So for all of these things to happen, you're going to have to take a little bit of creative liberty with their origin stories, add a little
Mhm.
something to them, change a little something that, or just a little information that we may not have had before to
Hmm.
get them to where we need to be. But essentially, the Necronomicon is the linchpin. There will be a demon in the Necronomicon that is summoned through certain acts. And I mean, even the people in Evil Dead don't know how to read the Necronomicon, but there are illustrations that guide you through
Yeah.
what's going to happen and all of that and things like that. If you can't decipher things, if you're just randomly reading verses and words and you don't know what the fuck you're saying, you're summoning shit, like all of this stuff happens.
See, this book reminds me, and no, it's not really the same at all, but for how I grew up, Charmed, they have the Book of Spells, and it's
Yes.
everything. Okay, that's all I kept thinking about. I was just like, oh, it's a Book of Shadows. Fuck yeah.
Yes. Power of
Listen,
3. Let's go.
that could be a whole nother show. Just write this down. More
Hey,
ideas.
listen, we could do it. I mean, come on, Piper, Phoebe. You know what I'm saying? Let's do it.
Prue, Paige, come on.
Peru, Paige, come on.
Listen, I had all the seasons on DVD. Just we'll go
Listen,
toe for toe.
I'm telling you, I had all their pictures in my. Okay, I'm sorry. What did you say? I'm sorry. What?
Stupid.
I thought we were going somewhere else for a second. Okay.
No. Original Charmed was the best. Yeah, the remake was terrible.
Ooh, original. Oh, you talk about the new series?
I think
what you're talking
Allison means like
The
original
OG.
series as
Okay.
opposed to the new series. They
Yeah,
try to
I
make it
haven't
as
really.
garbage.
I can't watch the new one because especially if they're like way
It's
too
not
young.
good. Yeah.
I had a little notebook that was an Necronomicon too, but who else do you want to know about?
Hold on, real
Yes.
quick. So my version of my version I was trying to pitch, was that okay or in the trash?
So your version, very interesting. I think an animated version of kind of like, I think it would work great as like an animated version
Okay.
of the
Yeah, because the
Slasherverse. That would be
Necronomicon
cool.
was like a source that they would be using,
Yeah,
as
yeah,
their
yeah.
main guide, like the Tobin Spear guide in Ghostbusters.
Like if you wanted, yeah, I was gonna say if you wanted to go kind of more of a Ghostbusters route than like a straight up horror with a little bit, because you got Ash as your main character, and Evil Dead falls into dark comedy, horror comedy
Yeah.
aspect to an
Mhm.
extent, mostly dark humor, um, really campy shit. So yeah, no, I not a terrible idea at all.
Yes.
Justin's like, that's one.
Yeah.
Let's go.
That's what I'm talking about.
So how would I'm curious about your guy Michael? How does
So this
Well,
is gonna
he's the
piss a lot of
big
people
bad,
off.
right? He's the big bad, right?
Well, no, there. So in this, it's just bringing everyone into a universe. So he was the big bad in the other. These are two separate ideas, Justin.
Okay.
So the road trip supernatural ripoff is just one idea that is not related to this whatsoever. It was just my original thought. This is something completely different. This is doing what the MCU did and giving everyone kind of their own movie reboot, essentially, with the information you need that would connect them all into one universe, so that eventually you could get to a showdown between Pinhead and Freddy, or Michael and Jason, or fucking War Games match with these guys over here and these guys over there, like however you go about it. Like that's essentially what this whole thing is. But with Michael,
can you imagine 2 out of 3 falls? Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Jason. What?
Oh, dude, Leatherface would die. We'll get into that. Leatherface is the bitch.
True.
With Michael, a lot of people aren't going to like this because I am one of the few people that is a fan of the Cult of the Thorn, and that is going to be an integral part of this because.
Okay, dude, I was just about to say that. Okay, but go ahead.
The Cult of the Thorn is based in Celtic mythology. And again, this goes back to demons, All Hallows Eve, all of these things, Samhain, all this stuff. So essentially, again, the ritual that we find out is produced in the Cult of the Thorn, or used in the Cult of the Thorn, to create Michael and all of his, predecessors, they got from the Necronomicon. Like another thought I had was maybe like lost pages of the Necronomicon. So as it's kind of traveled around, there are missing pages. They talk about that in Ash vs. Evil Dead. So instead of finding the actual book, maybe they have found pages from the Necronomicon and used those. And that is where they channeled what they call Thorn, which would be the demon that then possesses Michael and gives Michael his power. And then we would see that in a, again, reimagining of the original movie, where Michael's family is selected, the ceremony is performed, he is bestowed with the power, then goes on about his business, and it would kind of relaunch the franchise that way, just like we're relaunching Friday the 13th and going about it with this new narrative of who Jason is and how it comes about. Same thing here with the Cult of the Thorn being the driving force of what gave Michael Myers his power as well.
Okay. The Lost Pages is an interesting thing. Because, again, I haven't watched Ash vs. Evil Dead or anything. So that being a thing is very interesting to me.
Oh, yeah.
I thought Dustin
I mean,
was
it's
like
that's exactly what I was going to say, too. Like, if the book was part of, like, what the cult was using, that would be great. Real great. And there'll be like another way to like open up the realms of sending demons, but why would they be sending demons? That's the first question I would ask. I mean we could just make a one up.
Why or who's sending demons?
The cult. Like how would we get to the point where like Jason and Freddy would show up? Just cuz, or
well, the cult would not have anything to do with Jason or Freddy.
Okay. I got
only specifically Michael. So the cult perform the ritual that imbues Michael with his power. That is part of Michael's story. That is from Halloween.
Right.
So that is their only involvement, would be Michael Myers. Like I said, Jason would have a completely different, it would involve the same book or pages from the book. The book is the main tie-in. Right. And it kind of travels around from area to area in different ways, forms, or whatever, unleashing these demons that are then possessing dead boys, young boys, grown men, all of these things, and turning them into the monsters that we all know and love.
Gotcha.
So, Freddy.
All right. So, again, another not fan favorite film of the Nightmare franchise would be Freddy's Dead, the sixth installment. But in that, we get a lot of Freddy's history, his backstory, him being abused, this and that. And then we find out that he makes a deal with demons before he is murdered to get his powers. So again, very simply, how does he get in contact or know about these demons is through the book. He knows he's close to getting caught. He's looking for a way to immortalize himself, to save himself, because he knows it's only a matter of time before they find him and they kill him. And he comes across this book and he reads it and he figures out that this is what he wants to do, because even if he dies, he will live forever in their dreams. So then he uses the book to contact the demons, to strike a deal, to become Freddy fucking Krueger, the unending.
It's actually kind of crazy that the things are saying, like, if you really think about it, realistically, who's to say that they just didn't show us anything with the book for the cult for Michael or Freddy and the demons? Like, it makes so much sense that, like, it very well could be real and we're just not being shown it.
Yeah. See, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, as soon as Matt brought up the when he talked about the book and stuff, and then we got more into it, it was like, what if everyone involved were already thinking that this be already a universe without really saying it, like what you're saying? Because, like, in movies they have teased that there's an association, but not really went anywhere.
Right. So certain film, like you've got that through Freddy versus Jason.
Right.
Chucky kind of plays with it a little bit, jokes about it. Like in Bride of Chucky, there are knockoff versions of like the bladed glove and the hockey mask. And I'll talk about Chucky next. But nothing like you never hear like you're not watching a Halloween movie and you don't hear them mention, these murders in New Jersey, which would be Jason, or in Springwood, Missouri, which would be Freddy, or down in New Texas, that resemble the killings that are happening here, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Here you'd have that.
Yeah.
Why
like
that Chucky?
Is?
Why?
You know why that is?
Well, yeah,
because number one never mentions number 2, 3, 4, or 5.
I mean, he's so proud of himself.
It's 789. It's 789.
Ooh, 789. That'll be like that's like Scream. That's like Ghostface, Candyman territory.
Candyman
we talk about
would
the top five.
Candyman would easily be a part of this and would be a viable way to bring that into this. But Chucky.
Okay.
Righty ho.
Everything that we know about Chucky involves the heart of Damballa, the demon of Damballa, who gave Chucky his power. And again, the book. Where did he learn this voodoo ritual, or where did the person that taught him get this voodoo ritual from? They got it from the Necronomicon. That gave him his power to transfer himself into these dolls, which is why it is so diverse, and why once he becomes a doll, he seems to become even more evil than he was. It's really just as simple as that. Is basically all of the evil in the world that we know of through different rituals, whether they be Celtic or Norse or voodoo or satanic or whatever, all are. You look at religion, right? We say Christianity is kind of like a basis, but there are all these different sects of Christianity. There are all these different religions that have the same teachings for the most part, and then as they kind of divide out, people take what they like and leave what they don't and change certain things, but they all kind of have different names for a god and different thoughts. Jesus was this, Jesus was that. It's all a little bit different, but it's all very much the same.
Right.
As you look at it, it would be the same thing here. I'd call it the Necronomicon. You would call it what the fuck did they call it in Multiverse of Madness for Doctor Strange?
God, it's the book of can't get Book of Shadows out of my head.
I'm looking it up.
Darkhold.
God, wow, you really just pulled that out of nowhere.
I did. Well, the reason is because Sam Raimi directed fucking Multiverse of Madness, and I said it was a Marvel Evil Dead movie.
Yes.
Like,
that's true.
You had the Necronomicon, you had fucking Deadite Doctor Strange. Like,
Sinister Strange.
Well, the eye for the monster was like the book. So, God, that's where it's from.
No, Darkhold. There's
Hold.
D. There's D at the end.
There's a dark hole, and Vince will show you that. Will. So anyway, yeah. So if you look at the book like that, where whether it's satanic practices, Celtic practices, voodoo practices, it all comes from the same source, and that source would be the Necronomicon.
Yes.
So here,
the source from Charmed. I'm sensing a theme. I'm bringing Charmed into this. Damn it!
You are.
Hey, it could be volume 2. New Testament.
It's the new Avengers.
But yes, the voodoo curse, the curse of Damballa, the eye of Damballa, all of these things are things that would have been instructed to be created practices through the Necronomicon that then got passed down and eventually made their way to Charles Lee Ray, which he used to then put himself in the doll and become the notorious murdering doll that we all know and love.
Yes.
Which did you guys watch the latest episode of Chucky?
I'm one episode behind.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, then I won't talk about it.
No, you can talk about it. Okay.
No.
It's a safe place.
Shit had me upset.
Go
That's all
ahead.
I gotta
Talk about
say.
it.
No.
Go.
We'll talk about it after.
Just go.
That's not
No.
what we're here for.
Okay, but here now dude, honestly, now that we're talking about this, I feel like they really were like the movies are really connected because the Jason Voorhees, he gets possessed and he jumps in, like you said, has to jump into different bodies, like you're saying. That's exactly what Charlie's Ray is doing. I mean, they're doll bodies, but they're still bodies.
Bodies.
Yeah, but mind you, he also didn't start doing that until like Curse of Chucky or no, Cult of Chucky was when he really started doing. So that was years after the Jason stuff happened. And again, that is the problem. That is the one thing that I want my slasher verse to correct is all of the inconsistencies throughout the franchise. Because
Okay.
like you look at Friday 13th. Friday 13th is a very solid story from 1 through 4.
Yeah.
Then you have the movie that doesn't have Jason. Then you bring Jason back. And then as it goes on, the way that you can or cannot kill Jason or whether or not Jason did or didn't die, spoiler, he did repeatedly, because he can and Michael can't. Not debatable. The way that it happens, it changes. And then you get to like New York where he's trashed by toxic sludge and reverts back to a child. And Jason Goes to Hell feels like its own separate movie. It's no longer even called Friday the 13th. It's not. I don't think it's Friday. Yeah, it might be Friday the 13th. No, it's not. It's not Friday the 13th. It's just Jason Goes to Hell. So it doesn't even feel like part of the franchise. It feels like its own separate thing, but it has the most interesting canonical bits and pieces to what could pull it into any other franchise. So if you take that idea that they created that a lot of people hated, and it's funny that all of these movies could be tied in through some of the least enjoyed movies in the franchise, mind you. But you look at all that and you restart the franchise structuring it with that stuff, and I feel like it makes a lot more sense and could bring them together and make it a lot more enjoyable. Like Pinhead. I'm looking at Pinhead right here. Right. So Pinhead is a demon. Cenobite, demon, angel, whatever you want to call it. He is in another dimension, and the Necronomicon is full of portals and doorways to other dimensions. But the way that he comes through is through the Lament configuration or La Marchand's box, whatever you want to refer to it as. You find out in Hellraiser 4 that there was a toy maker who was commissioned to create a box. He was given instructions. He built the box based on the constructions, and then leaded to the box being the portal that opens the gateway to allow the Cenobites into our world.
Right.
Where did this wealthy man find the instructions to build this box to give to him?
I'm getting real sick and tired of this shit making sense.
It's almost like we're not even trying. You know what I'm saying? It's like through Matt's like horror genius. It's like already there. Like it's been already there.
Yeah. We just haven't connected the dots.
Right.
I'm going to answer Will's question right now. Yes. You can take Halloween 3 out of the title. You can make a movie called Season of the Witch, and then the power that is imbued that they use in the masks that turn the kids' heads to mush and bugs and bullshit. Where did they find the magic that created that ability and learn to harness it and use it through technology? The Necronomicon. So you could have that movie exist in the slasher universe through the Necronomicon, call it Season of the Witch, remove Halloween 3 from the title, and it would still exist, which is why you would still have Michael Myers playing on the TV screen in the background in a scene.
How great.
It makes too much sense.
It does. So who's next? We got Chucky. Oh, you were at Pinhead, right? We're at Pinhead.
We did Chucky, we did Pinhead, we did Freddy, we did Jason, and we did Michael.
Okay.
So who else you want to know?
You said Candyman.
Right. So again, Candyman. The story of Candyman, depending, so you have to get the full scope of who Candyman is, and it again changes with every iteration. So there's the original movie where he is just he is a the son of a slave, but he was free. He was commissioned to draw pictures of a plantation owner's daughter, fell in love, and then they found out about them. They murdered him, slathered him in honey. He was killed by bees. They cut his hand off, stuck a hook in there, and then he came back to haunt the area in which that happened, which is here in Chicago, Cabrini Green, right?
Right.
There is also talk that he was trapped inside, I think, mirror that was owned by.
Yep.
But again, where do these artifacts come from? Where does the spells or whatever goes on in these movies? Where do they get this information from to trap him in a mirror so that he is all of those things? So you could easily rewrite Candyman's story to him, because he was the son of a slave, but he was wealthy. His father had become emancipated. He was educated. That he also came across the Necronomicon, had been studying it, drawing and painting, because that's what he did, things from the book, and found a way, knowing that they were going to come for him and kill him, to get his revenge, because he knew what was going to happen to him when they came for him. And then that would also lead to that being passed down through all of the generations that we see in the new Candyman movie, where there's a new Candyman through generations and centuries, and everything is something that he pulls from the Necronomicon.
Okay. I do have okay. So just hear me out. Again, you can shit on this if it's bad. What if the author of the Necronomicon, what if the author is the Creep Keeper? Because Tales from the Crypt.
Okay, so the author of the Necronomicon, or authors, are known as the Dark Ones. They're ancient evil beings who were around before time. It's all in the Ash versus Evil Dead series. I believe Ruby Noby is one of them.
Yeah, I know.
All of that. So
I was just
you could try and say that the Crypt Keeper is an ancient one if you want, and for whatever reason decided to hang out on Earth.
He's pulling on straws here.
I'm trying to add more people to this. And then what if in the Lost Pages there's a section, right? There's like a section that just looks weird, right? In the book. And basically, if you need to rid anyone of any ghosts, you just simply call these three names. Beetlejuice. I don't want to say it the third time, but you get it.
Beetlejuice. Looks around.
Are we gonna do Bloody Mary and Candyman real quick too while we're at it?
No, Bloody Mary's scary.
Bloody Mary's that movie's scary, yeah, because we're 2 words away from saying it 3 times. Okay, but
but we're not looking in a mirror, so it's okay.
No, but that's because Matt looked up and I was like, "Oh
no, he's looking on his wall."
Okay.
I'm trying to.
No. Okay.
No, if Chucky starts talking, I'm leaving the call.
No, dude. If
I hear a little
grab the mic.
So okay, I guess one of the other big names, Leatherface.
All right, so Leatherface is a little different. Leatherface is a little different because so there's a scene in Ash versus Evil Dead where the Necronomicon is bound in human skin.
I I knew exactly that's what you were gonna say.
There is a scene in Ash versus Evil Dead where they cut the face off the Necronomicon and then they put it on
Uh-huh.
Pablo. I'm not gonna say that the first mask that Leatherface ever wore was taken from the Necronomicon, but I am going to say that being unable to read, being from Newt, Texas, being a little uneducated down there, they found the book, were unable to read it, but saw that it was bound in human skin, and then got the idea of using human body parts for lampshades, a mask for their son, things like that,
Curtains.
came just from them seeing the book. Because Leatherface, you could have them take the face off the book. You could have Leatherface find the book and
Yep.
not be able to read it, but want to cover his face because he's being picked on, made fun of, whatever, and cut the mask off and put it on and have that give him some. But Leatherface, unless we're completely rewriting the character, doesn't have supernatural power. He is a
Yeah.
inbred
Man.
hulking beast of a man who was whipped and beaten like a dog and squeals like a pig, and is trained to basically be an attack dog that is used to receiving a lot of punishment, but he is not really anything supernatural. So if we wanted to add him to that, you have two options. You either have him carve the face off of the Necronomicon and then have him have to replace it with
Okay.
someone else's face, or
Right.
you just have him kind of find the book, which I think like it would piss people off because they'd be waiting for this tie-in. Like they'd be sitting there and they'd be watching the movie and they're like, all right, where's the tie-in? Where's the book? And they're watching the book. And we're going through. And the only thing that they have in the book is he finds it, he looks at it, and he sees that there's a face on it. And then he goes and kills someone and cuts their face off and puts it on. And then the movie ends. Is he got the
That's your
idea to
last
wear
scene?
masks? That's where he gets the ideas, just from seeing the book. People would be
I
so
mean, it
mad,
does
but it
kinda
would give
fit,
him
like-
reason
Yeah.
to be in there. Or
I thought you were gonna take it to the point where again, time's not even a real thing, but he's the one who like bound the book, like bound it with skin. That's where I thought you were taking it.
So that book has been around far longer than Leatherface has. because it
Yeah,
was written
that's no.
before times. So that's the only reason I didn't go there with that. It is an interesting concept. You could also do something along the lines of that to live, because so like the whole story of Leatherface is essentially that the Great Depression or whatever hit and the town was out of business, and this family didn't want to move. They weren't leaving their land, they weren't leaving their town, they weren't leaving their homes. So
Mhm.
then they prey on people who drive through the town to feed the family
Right.
and keep them sustained because they have no other means of food or anything else. They've kind of eaten anyone that was left over, and then they prey on people that come through and get stranded or whatever, and kind of cause them to. So what you could do is you could have one of the family members, whether it be like the grandfather or something, have found the book, struck a deal to keep their land.
Right.
And now they do have to supply either souls or skin or something to the book. Maybe that could be like how the book kind of gets around is the family is manufacturing versions of the book that get passed around, kind of like making copies of an extremely demonic Bible, and that's how it kind of gets spread around. The issue with that is the time constraints, whereas the Cult of the Thorn and the Celtic stuff, the invention of voodoo, all of that is far beyond when this family comes to be in the 70s. So
hold on. Did you say you said he's an incest baby, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, so if you look, there are essentially two families. There's the Sawyer family and the I can't think of the fucking other name, but the names change throughout the franchise. But if you look at Texas Chainsaw 3D, there are essentially two families that have kind of just stuck together and
Right.
into each other and become one family, and they're all pretty much inbred in Texas.
Because you said I don't know why, but I just combined incest Hulk, and I just couldn't stop laughing because
He
he's
kind
getting
of
his
is
powers
incest.
from like
Yeah,
incest. And did you see what Will said? Sisterhood of the Traveling Necronomicon.
I did.
That's great. That's great.
I'm trying to think of other slashers.
God, but you know what's funny? The fact that he just like instead of reading the book, he just grabbed the face would fit in the mental capacity of Leatherface himself because he is dumb, just dumb. Like
So there's going to be a prequel coming out, I believe, on HBO Max. I'm not 100% sure. For Stephen King's It.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Leatherface. I was like, I.
No.
Oh yeah,
So-
Welcome to
prequel for
Derry or
Stephen
something.
King's It. Oh,
Yes.
welcome to. Okay, I did.
So in the cases of, like, let's say the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers, or It the Clown, Pennywise the Clown from Stephen
Right.
King's It, those would be demons that were summoned or released, because we also saw in Ash versus Evil Dead that reciting certain spells from the book would, you could summon a demon to our world, and unless you
Right.
had it trapped, it would then run rampant. So the Creeper would be a demon that was summoned here, that has to, feed every 23 years for 23
Right.
days, and his whole thing to regenerate his body and all this stuff. That would be a very simple tie-in with the Necronomicon, of someone finding it, having same thing with Pumpkinhead. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Pumpkinhead. Pumpkinhead is basically a revenge demon that you can summon to get revenge, but it also like takes a toll on you, and it's a whole thing. But all of these demons that also exist in these slash universes, Pumpkinhead, Jeepers Creepers, Pennywise, again, same thing. Could all be from the Necronomicon, demons that were summoned for a reason and then released, and have stipulations like the 23 years, Pennywise is sleeping, him taking certain forms, things like that could all be derived. Those I haven't got as deep in, as far as like the details that I hammered out with everyone else, where it's a little more concrete, but those would also fit in this Slasherverse in that way.
I like it.
So,
see,
just asked me the same question on the pre-show, and Ghostface, Norman Bates, there's no supernatural element to them. So while they could exist in this universe, they would not exist through the Necronomicon, because they're not getting anything from the Necronomicon. Now, you could, off the top of my head, in the case of Norman Bates, have Norman Bates find the Necronomicon and be driven mad from reading it, which then led him to his mother complex and dressing up as his mother and becoming a slasher, is not being able to read it, not being able to know what this is and understand it, drives him to the brink of madness, where he becomes himself. Again, Ghostface can just exist in California and has nothing to do with the Necronomicon, because it's not a character. It's a bunch of different random white kids dressing up as murderers and attacking people in California.
Yeah.
Oh,
They could have.
That's a good question.
The Warrens could absolutely at some point get the Necronomicon, try and put it in their museum, have it blessed, or we could find out that a lot of the things that we've seen in like Annabelle Homecoming that are in the museum are possessed by demons that came from or were released through the Necronomicon or had ties to it. And it could be an entire thing where the Warrens are tracing the connections of where the Annabelle demon came from, where the nun, where all of these demons came
Valak,
from, and how Valak, or Valak.
Valak.
All of these, where they're coming from, and they find out is from this book, but are unable to maybe get their hands on the book before they die, because it keeps moving around. and all of these things keep happening. So you could absolutely bring the Warrens and the Conjuring and pretty much everything from the Conjuring universe into this.
Yup.
Well, fuck.
Yup.
That's fantastic.
That was gonna be my next question, but I thought because like we're sticking with the slashers, I left them out.
I got one for
Yeah.
you, Just.
What's up?
Ghostbusters.
Yes.
You can bring Ghostbusters into this too through the same way.
You know what? I thought I was going to. That's in the back of my head, but I thought since it was too funny, I was like, I'm gonna leave them out. But yeah, of course, the Book of Tobin guide, Tobin Spear guide. What if it's a version of the Necronomicon that they have that they somehow dipped into, or someone dipped to that bought? What if they bought that book at the library that Ray Stans has, and then all
or the information that's in the
Here
Tobin
comes-
Spirit Guide,
there
is
you go,
stuff that
yeah.
was derived from the Necronomicon.
There you
If maybe Egon and his genius learned how to trap ghosts from studying the Necronomicon, and that's how he
True,
created the
true.
traps and how he created the proton packs. I'll get to that here in a second. Will
Dang.
also
We're just like
Zool.
man, we're just Zool, yeah.
And the whole ritual of releasing Zool and all of that. You tie all of that in. We can get that in there.
Yeah, that's But
say-
again, like
mean,
I wasn't sure if that was how big you wanted to make this verse be.
13 Ghosts perfectly works with this. All you have to do is the book that he is using to summon the ghost to give himself immortality ends up being the Necronomicon.
Yes.
He has a book that they find. He cuts out the spells from the book, or she cuts out the spells from the book and hides them. It's there. It's in the house. It's a whole thing. That book is the Necronomicon. 13 Ghosts is now part of the slasher. At this point, it's the horror verse. Now that we've brought 13
okay, the horror verse. All right.
It's now the horror verse.
It is now the horror verse, yes.
But yeah, no, the very simple way is to mind you, if anyone does decide to do this, I would appreciate, at least for the main slashers that I mentioned here, you please contact and consult me and allow me to help you with whatever you may do with this idea, should it become a movie or anything, and pay me for a little bit of the idea that I've got
you
here.
have to get rights, man. Every time they show the movie, based on Matt Ritter's,
But specific characters I have a specific vision for, but really the linchpin is the Necronomicon Ex Mortis. It is what it is, and it also brings in everything Evil Dead because it is Evil Dead. Like, that is the basis of Evil Dead, which then again allows Ash to go and fight Michael and Jason and Pinhead and Freddy and all of these things as well, because he goes where the book goes and he follows the book and all of these things. But yeah, no, you pretty much add that book to any story, tweak the story a little bit to have the book be the reason why these things are happening or where these evils came from, and it can be part of this universe, and you can create an entire universe around it. You can share characters between them. You can have, you could have Tina from Friday the 13th move to Haddonfield to get away from, New York or New Jersey and run foul of Michael Myers in the in-between years of whatever the fuck's going on between here and here and blah, 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 or stumble upon the Cult of the Thorn. You could have, again, John Tate or Stephen Lloyd done with Michael, decide to go camping or go on a road trip and stop off in Springwood for a night and start having bad dreams. Tommy Doyle,
put him in
join
everything.
them. Tommy Doyle could join them. Like
Paul Rudd could be in every movie.
Paul Rudd could be in every movie. Like,
he's a gem.
Actually, I think I have an idea of how this could work, like in a book.
Yeah.
Like how to write this out. Because you could literally just make it a book of short stories, like scary stories to tell in the dark.
Oh, I love that.
You technically don't need to make it an actual, like, full-on chapter book, but you could do like you don't have to make it like a fucking Harry Potter, but you could make it something like a Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and the Necronomicon be the main focus of each story.
And
Yes.
that's interesting. So that's kind of where I ran into the issue when I was writing, because like my thought was it would be each chapter would be about a demon, and then that demon would be a demon from the Necronomicon that was connected to a character, whether it's the dream demon for Freddy, or it's the what I called, I believe, the resurrection demon for Jason, or all of these different things. Since
Okay.
Jason can be resurrected, like every demon, there was a specific kind of demon that was summoned or something to do with the book, and that would each be the chapter. And then I was like, all right, well then the first chapter has to explain everything about the Dark Ones, how the book came into being, all of this stuff. You would have to sit down, and I do I have it here? Let's see. Horror Cinematic Universe. So I have dates like 1784, the Lament configuration is created. 1921, Elliot Spencer becomes Pinhead. 1939, Jedediah Sawyer, who is the Leatherface, is born. Jason drowns at 11 at 1957. Michael is born in 1957. Judith Myers is killed in 1963. Freddy is killed in 1968. Texas Chainsaw Massacre takes place. Jedediah Sawyer, Leatherface, in 1974. Pamela Voorhees is killed in 1975. 1978 is when Michael Myers commits his first murder. All of these things, like boom, 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 you know. So you would sit down, you would have a timeline, and you would have a time frame, and in these years, these things happened leading to, and then each chapter would start. Jason's story would start the year that he drowned in 1957, and then you go from there to build out. Just all these movies do is link everything by relaunching the franchise under one universe, and then from there, wherever you decide to go with that character, whether it be crossover movies or redoing the franchise to make one cohesive story. If you want to take Jason and get all the way to Jason Goes to Hell and have it make sense, now we have the beginnings and we have the ends, and you can get to a point in there where they find the dagger that kills Jason. We can also create through these stories, you know, if there are specific, like there is the Kandarian dagger, which is used to kill the Kandarian demon in Evil Dead. There is the dagger that they don't really give a name that is used to kill Jason, and whatever the name of that demon is that we would have to name, and then name the dagger after to kill Jason. So there could be all of these trinkets that were left behind to kill these demons that need to be sought out and found. Like, okay, now we know Michael's backstory, so now Laurie can go, you know, come in contact with somebody that will tell her about this tool that could finally defeat Michael Myers, finally put him down, so on and so forth. Or Tommy could find it through his study of Celtic rituals and runes and all of these things. And it may not be a dagger in every case. It may be runes. It may be, you know, other things that are used that have given the opposite power of these characters in this universe to defeat them or trap them or stop them. All of that would be there. But yeah, it would definitely have to start with, in the beginning of time, before the world was formed, blah, 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 the Dark Ones created the Necronomicon and this and that, and blah, blah, blah. You would have to have a chapter in there for Evil Dead and the story of Ash. You'd have to have a chapter in there for, and that's the way I looked at it, was everything would be a chapter with an origin. And then from there, because again, I'm not a writer, so I didn't look at this as like a series of books. I didn't look at that. I looked at this as, in my head, I was writing it down, but it would be the start of a universe, whether it be comic books or movies or a TV show on Peacock, seeing as Peacock now technically has the rights to both Michael Myers and Jason, or at least has the rights, or the characters are being able to be used on the same network because
Right.
Peacock is the one that produced and released. It's a different production company, but because I believe A24 is doing Friday the 13th, and that is not who did the Michael Myers stuff, but it's still under the Peacock banner. So if we can do that, Chucky is also under the Peacock banner.
That's right. Oh yeah.
Everything's under the cock.
And if they have the rights to Jason, and Jason was, well, it's owned by different people now and all that, but it shouldn't be hard to get the rights to Freddy too, because that's already happened once.
Right.
Oh man, it's all coming together.
You could do that as a series of shows on Peacock where this, and that's why this whole thing came about, was because they're going to do a prequel story to Jason. So let's do it fucking right, guys, and let's start with the Necronomicon. Let's do the prequel right and start with the Necronomicon.
If somehow the Necronomicon makes some type of cameo in this fucking prequel show, I'm going to lose my mind and contact you immediately. Be like, they listened, Captain.
Cabin in the Woods is a great example because Cabin in the Woods has ancient gods that are being satiated through the tropes of horror movies, which could be one of, if not all of the ancient ones that wrote the Necronomicon book. And then, as he says here, all of the, and then you wouldn't have to use knockoff versions of Pinhead and so on and so forth.
Right.
Damn.
Ooh. Very good, Will. Will's right there.
I can't wait to.
So wait, so like let's there's nothing released about what the prequel of Friday the 13th would be, right? What's the title? Like,
isn't it Welcome to? No, isn't it just Camp Crystal Lake?
Crystal Lake? Is that it?
I don't know what the title is. I know a prequel series was ordered. I know that Victor Miller is a producer, and Horror Inc., which is owned by Sean Cunningham, is also a producer. I don't know if they came up with a title. I know that the information that we've gotten is, the series is going to start as a prequel, but they basically have the ability to take it as far as they want to go anywhere they want with it. So after they do the prequel, they could essentially relaunch the whole series as seasons of a show about Jason.
Right. They can basically
it is a show. It is not the movies. And I think they only have TV show rights. They don't have rights to make movies. Yes, Katie?
Okay.
It is just called Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, so personally, how do you feel about that?
I'm excited as fuck for it. Listen, I love mythology. That's why I want to do this. That's where this whole idea of a Slasherverse came from. The things that add to create the mythos of these characters is what really interests me. That's why I love Halloween 6. That's why I really like Jason Goes to Hell and all of these movies, is because that's where the backstory, that's where the reason, that's where the mythology comes in. So them making a series and giving me more Jason as opposed to just never getting it. I have never been a one who's like, oh, don't remake it. I don't want to see it. Like, I'm not that person.
Right.
I want as much of my favorite characters as I can get. So if you're going to make more stuff, it may be fucking terrible. I doubt it, but it might be terrible. Okay. But it's still more content of something I love. So I'm never going to say, no, don't do it. I'm never going to be one of those people who's like, I just want the movies that I grew up with and I don't want anything else. Like, would you ever tell them to stop making Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoons?
No. No. Because just like you, I'm not opposed to not seeing a new one. Plus, like, there's so many that you can go back and just watch the one that you like anyway.
Thanks, Will. You have a good night, old man. I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to it. Same thing with Welcome to Derry. All of the stuff that's going to give me more of the characters that I grew up on, that I love, a deeper dive into the backstories of how they got to be there, maybe iron out some of the wrinkles in the stories and figure some shit out. I am all for all day.
The only reason why I brought that up is because, they made a television sequel to the original Exorcist movie. when
Yep.
she's older,
With
which like
Kumar
right, and so which was like it
or
was kind of
Harold. It was
good.
Harold.
Uh,
Yeah, it was Harold, not Kumar.
yeah. So like witches, it's like it was good, but it was also like not as like haunting or at the same level as the original movie, but it was still okay, right? So
The
and
first
then
season
they
was good. The second season got really weird.
right, and then so that was kind of like iffy with me and Shar, and then they did Bates Motel, which is basically a prequel to the
Psycho.
Psycho, and that was great.
Yep.
So that's why I'm kind of like I'm just like you guys. I'm excited for the prequel shows, but at the same time, I'm also like, okay, well, if it's not good, then you still have the original franchise to look forward to. So like, as
Mhm.
I think I'm more excited for Crystal Lake than Derry though.
It's fair.
Because like it's like Crystal Lake, there's a story to be told. I think Derry, there was no story until till what's his name? The boy fell in the sewage
Why would you think that?
because there is no like reminiscence of accidents happening
Yes, there is.
before.
Yeah, there
Yes,
is.
there is. It's
It's
throughout the
ev-
entire movie. They talk about the
Kids
history of
falling
the
in the
town.
sewer.
No, it's the town. It's Pennywise. I can't remember like how many years it is off the top of my head.
Oh, you know what?
There's like
You're right. It's about Derry.
yeah, Justin. The show's gonna be called Welcome to Derry.
I'm sorry.
But not just that. The entity that we know as Pennywise the clown has existed for centuries in
Yeah.
that town, and every so often
it's
comes
coming.
back
Okay,
to
now I get it.
feed.
Okay.
And in the book and in the movies, they talk about all of these great tragedies that happened that were like marks of basically
Yes.
the years that he came, where there was a massacre, what they called the Black Spot, and an ironworks explosion, and all
Yeah.
of these things that happened, all these great catastrophes in Derry that are centered around him. And especially in the new movie and in the book, they go all the way back to like Native American times and like rituals
stuff
of them
happening.
like trying to get rid of like it almost made it sound like he was the fucking comet that killed the dinosaurs, the way they talk
maybe
about
he
it in
was.
the new movies.
Maybe
Like,
he was. We don't have proof he wasn't.
No, you're right. Now that I'm thinking about it, okay, I don't know why I thought it was. Okay, I don't know why I didn't put two and two together, but
where
Justin
did you
just
think the
thought all
fucking
this
clown came from?
He just thought all this shit
I
started
just
because
thought,
he saw
yeah,
Georgie running
see,
around.
that's what I
with
was
his
thinking.
little
I don't
yellow
know.
coat.
I just didn't think. I don't know. I just didn't think about it at the time.
He's trying his
But
best.
now, like the movie's playing in my head as you're saying. I do remember them showing about news clippings of like older things happening. So I remember that
Yeah.
scene. Speaking of which, if Pennywise was the one that killed the dinosaurs, I wanted to know if they all just stared at the red balloon going up and then
No,
It
they
was
looked
just
into
a
his
it was just a
headlights.
big red balloon that was slowly coming down, and as soon as it hit the ground, boom, exploded. Dinosaurs
Okay.
wiped out.
Now, what if they tie in Pennywise to the killer clowns from outer space? I'm just saying, like, I'm just saying.
He said, "Hear me out, guys."
I'm just saying.
Matt, I'm letting you take that one. That's all you, bud.
Horrorverse, we're here.
I like that it started out as a slasherverse and we slowly just delved course.
This is like the unreleased Necronomicon, like the one that like didn't make the shelf. The cult was like, "Oh my god, don't write
Colt
that."
said, "Yo, this book sucks."
Theoretically, the way it is described in the books, and you could say that Pennywise is, in a way, a killer clown from outer space. I suppose. While I know that one of my favorite female wrestlers loves killer clowns from outer space, that is not my particular brand of no. So
No. Wow.
no.
I know. That was a reach. I know.
That was
a huge
something.
reach.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, you know who would do the soundtrack?
ICP.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, because clowns. I know.
Because clowns.
It's funny. It's supposed to be funny, but I'm the only one laughing.
You guys got any other questions, critiques, thoughts?
No, I do it. Honestly, like walking into this, I'm kind of thinking like, okay, Matt's a horror genius. Like, how would this all tie in? And as soon as you brought up Necronomicon, I'm like, fuck, that's how it's gonna tie in. Like, as soon as you start saying it, like things were just connecting in my own head. And believe it or not, the first thing was the Ghostbuster thing because the book before you said everything else, and then when you finally wrapped it all up, and then you said the Ghostbuster thing, I'm like, I knew it.
I did that just for you.
So yeah, but yeah, it's crazy when you think about it. I mean, the Chucky thing, where is he getting the voodoo and all that, and everything else? It's pretty wild.
All very simple ways to connect every
Literally.
character that we know and love with a
And
slight
it's funny because
tweak.
like if you think about it, like what if this is what ends up happening for real? Because like everybody's trying to make their own Marvel universe, you know. So like, what if this is a way to kind of like do that? Because like like you said, like I didn't think about it, but they only have the rights to make a TV show. Chucky's a TV show.
Yeah.
Chucky's a TV show.
Chucky's a
damn
TV
good one.
show. Camp Crystal Lake is going to be a TV show.
Didn't Freddy have a TV show?
I don't know if Freddy had a TV show.
Didn't he?
I don't.
Yes,
He
but
did?
it was called Freddy's Nightmares. It
See, I didn't watch it. I knew it was a thing.
My
I'm just tying in TV shows.
I
All
forgot
I
about
got.
that. It was so bad.
Oh wow.
Hmm.
Wow.
So...
I wrote like 18 pages of shit on Google Docs that I just found.
Can you please send it to me?
Oh, should we get like Jizzy or Benji to draw the storyboard for this, and then we just have a whole cafeteria?
We become a whole like screenwriting team.
I feel like
Listen, Stephanie Myers wrote Twilight off the internet. I'm pretty sure we can get this going.
Can I read it?
Yeah, I don't.
Yes. Listen, I don't care if it's good, bad, whatever. I'm just excited.
I'm just going through and I'm seeing like little blue squiggly lines, and I'm clicking on them and having it just edit it for me.
That's yeah.
Can I tell you what's going on in my head right now? Now that we just talked about this whole horrorverse, creatively, it starts off like with what's the name? Supernaturals, right? Yeah. Supernaturals needs help. They call the Ghostbusters, right? They're going off the Necronomicon book, right?
Yeah.
The vehicle that they have cannot sustain the amount of power and supernatural stuff that's going on. So they use Christine, the car.
Oh, I was gonna go Mystery Machine from Scooby-Doo.
So. Ooh. They meet them up, and instead of Scooby has a friend. It's not Scrappy. It's fucking Cujo.
Jesus Christ. You just want the entire Stephen King.
So what I'm going to do, Katie, is I am going to go into Twitter and allow notification. Okay, whatever. I probably am going to regret that. Just skip that. I'm going to send you the link that it just created. So you should be able to go check it out on Google Docs.
Ooh.
But
what's the title did you have for this?
I don't have a title. So literally there's just like an opening paragraph that I didn't even indent. And then there's the first chapter, which is the Kandarian demon and the dim-witted hero. And then there is the nightmare demon and the burn man.
Oh, these are the chapter titles?
The dream demon and the resurrection demon meet, which apparently I worked out everything through Freddy versus Jason there.
I'm so excited.
The Curse of the Thorn and the Chosen One. What do we got here? The Demon
Turtle.
and the Doll. I guess I didn't give it a name. So there's that would be
Who would have the best dialogue, like the best promos, like back to back? Would it be Freddy and Chucky?
I feel like Freddy and Chucky would. Well,
Freddy.
Jason doesn't talk. Michael doesn't talk.
They would do Jason and Leatherface like how they did Oscar and EO, just subtitles. You know,
Yeah, except theirs wouldn't be an actual language. Theirs would just be sounds.
a knife, machete going back and forth, like
it just says machete
and then a
sounds.
chainsaw. Zzz.
change that to Dambala and the Doll. The Man in the Mirror. So I did have.
Oh.
Is that Candyman? Is that Candyman?
Yeah, that would be Candyman.
Not Michael Jackson.
Stop. Yes. This is so
To bring.
How long
wow.
ago did you make this?
This was last year. It looks like.
Last year. Okay. Damn.
Hey, pandemic be making people do some
You
shit.
know the thing is like oh. Now if let's say this happens, right? What would the movie poster look like?
Did you look at the really shitty Doctor Strange-esque thing I put together and had Vince put a title over?
The thumbnail
No?
for
Yeah, the
yeah,
thumbnail.
it's look at the original tweet.
For the
getting off.
Horrorverse?
Yeah.
For the Oh shit, okay.
That I tagged you in?
That I'm pretty sure you literally retweeted.
Oh yeah.
I think it'd
So
be
I have
cool
the
if
Pope
you
of
just...
Hell in his puzzle box
Oh, okay.
after the Man in the Mirror.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Very.
I think a cool poster
Sure.
would just be like a very like the Necronomicon very big, and then in the book you just see faces of the like killers, slashers.
Yeah.
I can't somebody sketch it. I can't draw.
Because you know the reason why I didn't see it because I wanted people to know that we're live. So I tweeted that we're live getting off, and I put you probably see it later, but I put Michael Myers dancing to "Crush on You," that song.
I hate you.
You know that song? I found out I'm gonna crush it. Okay.
I wrote a lot of shit here.
I'm going to be looking at this tomorrow when I get home from my movie and going to the gym. I am very excited.
So I think what I ended up doing with this when I wrote this down was I tried to alter the beginning of the story and then connect all of the movies to make essentially a chapter. Why do they not like really? Is there no E in Axe?
Yeah, there is AXD.
There is.
Not according to this.
I think that's one of the ones you can spell it both ways.
Yeah, well, Google
Hey.
Docs does not like it. But yeah, I think I tried to do the entire franchise through the eyes of this new opening for each one.
Well, once we end the show, I will check on my computer.
Which we
on
should
the
probably
Twitter.
do because I'm not even like I'm just scrolling through this editing shit now, babbling.
That's also kind of why I told you.
Okay. So
Helping you out.
if you guys have any other questions, not you guys, but anyone that listens to this episode, if you guys enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, follow us. If you're watching this on Twitch, throw us a sub. We would appreciate it. If you have Amazon Prime, you have a free sub. You can get more content like this. We also did horror movies that scared us. We did a review of Halloween Ends. We did a preview of everything Chucky before season 2 came out. We do all things horror here in basically a different format every show. So all of that is available, but Justin and Katie are on me with all of them as well as other guests throughout this little journey we're going on through my fandom of horror. So please do that. If you're over on YouTube, also please like and subscribe. We would appreciate it. Check out everything Creation World, creationworld.com. It's Creation World on Twitter and Instagram, ITSCREATIA World, Facebook.com/Creation World. All of that to get everything under the Creation World banner, whether it's wrestling with Smack and Raw or Creation Comics or the Creation Conversation when it comes back. Hashtag them dragons. If you're a Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon fan, I had to think there. Hot D. All of that. Please come check us out there. Katie, please plug yourself.
You can obviously follow me on Twitter at KatieWrestling13, link to about to all things She Leads Showcase, twitch.tv/She Leads Showcase, typically Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern-ish, depending. YouTube.com/She Leads Showcase. I say watch the videos because they're way more entertaining. Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, if you like to listen. She Leads the Brand's weekly show. Inside the Mind of, new episode coming out on Monday with Dylan from Road Elite Pod. In the Crowd, coming back. We're shooting on Thursday with Justin and Daryl from Get Show, so that's gonna be fun. New YouTube exclusive show, Storytime with Katie Kinsey, Bebe, very small for legal reasons. That's up on the channel. Savannah has shows. I'm always on Smack and Raw. I do a lot of stuff because I like podcasting, and as Matt said last night, I apparently have no life. So.
Wow.
I absolutely did say that.
Yeah, I was gonna say try and lie, motherfuckers, at the beginning of the show.
Justin, what you got?
Yo, if you enjoyed us here, you can also, if you enjoyed my comments, like, comment, subscribe, and Get Your Podcast on the Instagram, Get Your Podcast on the Twitter. I dropped a new episode with Vince and Benji. So check that out. Thanks for having me, Matt.
No problem. And as always, you can follow me at my Reuters at my TTRDDR on Twitter. Only if you want to follow me for wrestling. If you want to follow me for horror, go check out at Getting Off. Also, Linktree/Getting Off will get you everything the Getting Off podcast. This is a YouTube exclusive, Twitch exclusive, like video exclusive podcast. If you want it in audio, let me know, and I will talk to Travis, and we will get it out in audio form as well. Thank you guys for joining us. I am the patron saint of podcasting, the Warden Matt Ritter, for Miss Katie Kinsey Bay, and Get Your Podcast very own Just. This has been the #1 horror podcast on Pornhub.